Okay, part two. So as he goes into this like novelty shop, I guess, which by the way, kudos to the casting and who they hired to be the experts in this shop, which again, everybody kind of just have like has like this job where they're like, look, I'm just here to pay my bills. And so they're not so empathetic to people who revert to these things, like like almost like, you grown, you know what you're getting yourself into. So he buys this little packet. It says like One Wish Willow, and when you take it out of the box, it already has like this weird annoying buzzing sound. So now fast forward to him being in the car dropping off Nikki at her home. They already had this weird um, interaction, and he just wishes she'll love me more than anything in this life. And it's like a little branch. It's like a little branch, which is kind of very reminiscent of Weapons. That's the movie I think that I have forgotten to mention in my last clip. And he breaks it, and it happens instantaneously. Like, she literally was like, okay, good night. And then when he makes his wish, it's like she stops dead in her tracks. And then, mind you, all this given time, she was just like, I want to just, go home. Even like also when she was in the parking lot and she's with the other two, some that work with them. I'm forgetting their names, but I think the other fellow who kind of just reminds me of like the typical jock from the 80s, the 1980s films or whatever. And he's like, oh, Baron's gonna drive you home. You sure he's not like your boyfriend? You sure you don't like him or something like that? And she made a comment where she was like, ew. Like, almost like, don't even say that. Like, she just didn't have those feelings for him. So it was kind of clear from the beginning. So when he snaps that branch, she's like a bumbling fool. Like, she comes running back to the car, and all of a sudden she's not tired and she wants to spend more time with him and insists on him driving to his place. And he's just like caught off guard, like, what? Like, even though he knows what he just did, but he was just like, he didn't 100% believe in it either. He's like, well, maybe she just had too much to drink or something like that. She's on something. And he drives back to his place. And so the instances where I'll say about the jump scares, I thought that approach was very creative, because the jump scares aren't like the typical, like, like you see like in an Insidious film, or like The Nun or something like that, that just come out of nowhere and all of a sudden you're just like, which, by the way, I saw somebody in the theater when they were working their way towards their seat, and this was still in the middle of previews. Like, the film wasn't even playing, and she just heard some crazy sound behind her, and it like did that. Like, you jerk. That's your knee jerk reaction. You hear some horrible sound booming behind you. You're like, ah. So I couldn't help but laugh when she did that. But anyway, the what are they called? The jump scare or jump scares that we get in this film. This is what I thought was creative about the writing, was that it's her. It's genuinely Nikki. So, because whatever she's under, this spell. And also kudos to the way that they shot this film, like the tonality and the choice in keeping the actress, which, by the way, she did a phenomenal job. Kudos to her. Very young, talented young lady. They put her in these shadows, because it's almost like what you're conveying, or what they're conveying in these scenes, is that it's not her, it's this shell of what, or vessel that is lingering there. But what makes the person, a person is the soul, and you've removed her. You know, he's doing his this wish, he's removed her. He's taken her will to decide of whether she wants to pursue this or not. Like, he didn't give her a choice. Like, so she's no longer there. And she, if she is there, it's during these jump scares. Like, she's like, and in a way, like, I feel like it's also, you know, like a fantasy version of what unfortunately some people do go through with mental health issues. I'm not, I can't say I'm too well versed when it comes to borderline personality, um, schizophrenia, even dementia. I think. I'm not saying that it goes that far in terms of, because this age group is relatively young, but there's reports where people have unfortunately had bouts of dementia also through illness, but early in life. So she finds herself in these instances where she's like, what am I doing? And so that's where, but she shouts because, like, it's not something that she's willing, she's not a willing participant. And this is what he's done. He's taken away her free will. And so that's the core of this film, because even though he looks like the loner, pathetic, you know, the guy who's, you know, desperately in love with this girl, but she won't return his feelings, or he hasn't even been clear about his feelings to her for her to decide. He's really our villainous character here, because once he realizes that she's behaving that way because of the wish, he doesn't necessarily go like, oh, no, 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 no. He only has a turning point, or any moment of, I guess, morality, questions his morality, is when she starts going nuts. Like, when she's not behaving like herself, because this is like some love struck demon or something that's possessed her. When she's in these like moments, these scenes where it's darkness, and then also she'll recite things that she wouldn't normally do. Like, where is all that coming from? That's why I think this film, although I don't necessarily know if it'll have a sequel, it might be kind of like Ryan Coogler's Sinners, where I thought we were gonna get a sequel, but I believe he wants to just kind of leave it like that. Just let the movie be and exist without any further explanation. But if in case they do want to revisit the story, they can, because there's plenty of like space here to really dissect it. I also a nod to Sinners, because now I really don't know if they did this intentionally, but when she's under this love spell, it's almost as if she takes on characteristics of the cat, because like, so I remember that when they were shooting scenes for Sinners, he wanted to give his vampires this kind of like mystical essence, but also in the way that they were glamour, or they just had this evil living within them. Once they were bit, their eyes would change into these like shiny reflective things, and the actors really, I give them much props, and they really deserve their statues and all the work and the special effects. I can't stress how important makeup is when it comes to these films, because they put these lenses that gave them this reflective cat-like experience effect to their appearance. And this girl Nikki, the actress who's playing Nikki, when she's under this love spell, there are moments where the light just hits her eyes. She's in total darkness, but her eyes are reflective like the cat's, like a cat would. So again, I'm not saying that she now has embodied the cat, but has she? She is definitely living with a demon. And there are instances where I felt like